don't want to talk to me about it. They don't want to bring it up to me. And that's okay. That's their choice. I'm not for everybody. Hi, I'm Ashleigh, and welcome to the Big Crystal Energy Podcast. This is a place for the crystal curious, arcane-minded, and everything in the in-between. In this podcast, we will jump down the rabbit hole into the metaphysical, esoteric, occult, and spiritual realms. Nothing is off limits. I'm a mom, wife, an orthopedic physician assistant by day, and a seeker of all things spooky and kooky by night. I've spent my entire career in the medical field, but have always felt like there is more out there, and this is where we will explore together. We will have conversations with crystal healers, rock hounds, artists, musicians, spiritual coaches, magic makers, and anything woo-woo that strikes our fancy. Let's take our spiritual journey to the next level. So grab a crystal, pour a cup of tea. It's time to feel the big crystal energy. Hello, and welcome back to Big Crystal Energy. I'm Ashleigh, and if this is your first episode, welcome. But today is my 1-year anniversary episode, and I am so excited, and thank you for joining me. This is such a big moment in my life, truly, and definitely for this podcast. So I just want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me. I can't even begin to say how much I feel like this year has allowed me to evolve as a person, and I still am shocked that I even did this, that I even have a podcast. That feels completely crazy to me at times, because a few years ago, I would have never thought this was possible. And now here we are at 1 year. And I feel like I am totally aligned. I am totally on track with what I'm supposed to be doing. And I honestly get more excited about it every week. Every single week, I'm always thinking about what interviews I can do or what topics I can bring to you all. And it lights me up like nothing I've really experienced in my adult life, other than like having my children and, my wedding day and things like that. But for me, this is so special, so magical, and such a beautiful place, not only for me to share, but also for me to learn. I feel like I've learned so much over the past year. The growth has been exponential, and I feel like it's just continuing to expand and expand as time goes on. And so I just wanted to do a 1-year kind of recap, go through some different things that I've experienced, my takeaways, my top episodes, my personal favorite episodes, and also share a giveaway that I'm doing to celebrate 1 year. So, truthfully, this podcast was kind of a leap of faith for me. When I initially started working with crystals, I wasn't really sure how I was going to do that, if I was going to be working with people one-on-one, or if it was something that I would just learn all this knowledge and carry for myself, and maybe I would just have crystal healing skills. And I didn't know. I really didn't know where I was going to go with it, but I knew that I had a very specific calling to do this. And the universe was just telling me, you need to do something with this knowledge, with this passion that you have, and somehow you need to put it out into the world. I've never considered myself a teacher, and I don't know that I am a teacher in any regard on this podcast. I'm just more of a sharer of what I'm learning, because I always feel like I'm a newbie, no matter where I'm at on my journey. I always feel like there's just so much to learn. And as I learn things, I bring them to you. And if I'm not always right, please tell me. I'm just collecting information as you would. So, I did decide, after being an avid podcast listener for years and years and years, podcasts about absolutely everything under the sun, I thought, you know what, this is what I want to do. And so I took a podcast course, and I was like, you know what, I'm really going to commit to this. So here I was. I recorded my first episode. My first episode launched when we were at Universal Studios in Los Angeles. I remember that day. I had to get up super early in the morning and finalize everything. And I put publish, and it was out in the world. And I kept checking all day, and I couldn't believe how many people were downloading the podcast. It was so exciting. It just felt so affirming that I was on the right track. And then it was, obviously during this time last year, my son was on spring break. And so the following week, we went with my parents to Savannah, Georgia, and I wanted to stay on track with my podcast recording, but I had been so busy ahead of time, I really didn't have time to prepare my episode. So I hauled all this podcasting equipment with me. And now looking back, I probably could have just packed my computer and used the computer audio and all of that. I didn't have to bring my fancy speaker and my fancy microphone. I didn't have to bring all of that with me, but I didn't know. I didn't know how else to record. So I was in a closet at our Airbnb, and I was recording my first full-length episode. about how to start, a crystal starter kit. And I just remember feeling really excited about it, but I was also kind of nervous to tell people that I had a podcast because, of course, I felt like an imposter. I'm just new to all of this. So why am I already starting a podcast about it? But I wanted it very much to be a come with me and learn with me type of podcast. And I've always said that all along. Like, I'm not an expert on any of these topics. It's just something that I'm interested in. It's something that I'm passionate about, and I can't hold it all within me. I have to share it. I have to spread it. And so that was kind of the impetus to even start the podcast. So here we are a year later. I have my guest room in my house that I have decked out as my podcast room / office / guest room, but I don't really let anyone stay in here because there's too many cool things in here and I don't want anyone touching them. But my children do come in here and try to play with my knickknacks and all those things. And I'm always kind of scurrying them out of here. And then occasionally, someone will come in here and sleep. But for the most part, this is my podcast room, my office. It's got all my cool stuff and I love this space. It just feels so magical every time I walk in here. You can't appreciate the purple wall. It doesn't really show up purple on this video, but I painted this wall purple last year because it's my color. And I've got my magical fairy wings that I made like 20 some years ago up on the wall, with the red ones being the ones I was wearing the day I met my husband at a Halloween party. And I've shared that before. And let's see, back over there is the Rolling Stone cover of the Smashing Pumpkins from the 90s when their album, I think Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, came out, because Billy Corgan's wearing that Zero shirt that was so popular back in the 90s. And my friend and I, way back then, her brothers had that original Rolling Stone magazine. And so we took it to a local copy shop and made copies of that cover. And I've had that particular copy up on a wall somewhere in one of my houses since the 90s, which is completely crazy. But if you're watching this on YouTube, you can appreciate it. And maybe you even remember that cover. Anyway, so this room feels really special to me. I have my candles going. I have one of my favorite candles going right now. It's called Witch You Well. It's from my favorite shop in Salem called House Witch. And it's just a really magical candle. And I always light it when I'm in here because it just sets the intention and it makes me feel so magical and witchy. And I've got some of my favorite incense burning and I'm just ready to get going. This year, I have learned so much. I just want to share some of my top 5 takeaways from starting this podcast. These are not in any particular order, but number 1, I've been very proud of myself that I've maintained consistency with the podcast despite life's chaos. Now, at the end of last year, I did go through a period of time where I wasn't recording as much, but that was also because I was kind of thinking about how I was going to level up the podcast and what the next phase of it was going to be like. So I did take some time off, especially it was holidays and all of that kind of stuff. Despite that, I was pretty consistent throughout the year, putting out weekly episodes. Sometimes I would put out bonus episodes. And, life is crazy, to be honest. If you are new to this podcast, I am a mom. I work full-time as a physician assistant in orthopedic surgery, which is a pretty demanding, high-stress job at times. I have 2 little boys that are 8 and 2. I'm married to my husband, who I've been with since that Halloween party back in 2007. We have a crazy life. Him and I are both orthopedic PAs. We work together. We love traveling. We take our kids everywhere. We don't really have childcare around us other than, the school and the daycare. So our kids are with us all the time, pretty much. And this journey with podcasting, it has not been perfect, but it has been consistent. And I told myself if I was going to do this and I was going to invest in the podcast course and I was going to invest in some equipment and things like that, I was going to be very consistent about it because I knew the only way that I would get better is if I kept showing up for myself week after week. And so I feel like I'm a newbie still, of course, right? And I feel like I stutter over my words and I say like too much and I have too many pauses and this and that. And I say, too much. Of course. And that's why I hired a podcast editor finally, just because of all those things. But I'm consistent and I've been really proud of myself for that. It's been hard. We've been traveling. I've had to take my podcasting stuff with me traveling many times. There's been nights where I knew I needed to get out the episode the next day and I was up late recording, editing, just so that I could push it out by the next morning. But it's all because I love it. If I didn't love it, I wouldn't do it. And so when people say, I don't know how you do all these things, I don't really know how I do them all. I just know that I do it because I love it. And if you have a passion for something, you will show up for it. And I think that's ultimately what causes me to do all of this. The second thing is that this podcast has been a huge growth and confidence for me. You know, I'm putting myself out there in such a different way than I've ever presented myself before, especially as I've been an adult and I've been working as a working professional, especially working in the medical field. All of a sudden, I took this kind of derailment while I'm still working my regular job. It's like all of a sudden I'm just showing up completely different, maybe than most people ever have seen me before. And so that can be kind of shocking. And I just decided I was just going to go for it. I feel it in my heart. I feel it in my soul. So I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to show up authentically as who I am. And maybe that is confusing for some people. Maybe they're turned off by it because they think it's too woo-woo. It's too out there. Maybe they feel that it's an assault on their spiritual beliefs or their religions. It's not meant to be any of those things. I am a very kind person. Don't mean to offend anybody by any means, but you know, with what I'm doing, it's truthfully, if you don't like it, then don't watch me. Don't follow me. Don't listen in. But this is what I'm here for. And I'm just going to keep showing up as myself. At times it can feel lonely, mostly because, like I said before, a lot of people don't really understand this. To be honest, crystal healing, while to me it feels like something that everybody should know about, most people don't even know what that is. They think it's wacky. They think it's fake. They think that it can't possibly work. And I get that. It does sound wild. It does sound kind of weird, but it does work. I feel like I'm a true testament to the fact that it does work. I show up and I do these practices every single day, and my life has changed so much in such a positive way. You know, it has felt isolating in the sense that I think in some ways doing this podcast, I'm not really sure why, but maybe at times it makes people uncomfortable. And so they don't really feel comfortable even asking me about it. They don't feel comfortable approaching it with me because maybe they feel like it's too odd, or maybe they don't want to offend me, or maybe they just don't believe in it. I don't know. So at times it does feel challenging because a lot of people in my world don't want to talk to me about it. They don't want to bring it up to me. And that's okay. That's their choice. I'm not for everybody. And I certainly don't expect I ever will be. So that's fine. But I'm just saying, I just keep showing up despite the fact that sometimes I don't get hardly any feedback other than from my listeners and the people that enjoy what I'm doing. But from the regular people in my life, a lot of them are just like, oh, that's Ashleigh over there doing her weirdo stuff. And they leave it at that. I'm just saying that because that's just the reality of the situation. I don't need accolades from everybody. I'm okay with it. I just am saying that at times it does feel kind of quiet. The third thing is that I've had some really incredible conversations, deep conversations with guests. Now, I know that I've only just started interviewing people for the podcast, but not only am I talking about interviews, I'm just talking about people in general that I've met along the way, or listeners that have had conversations with me online, or people that I've stumbled across from this or that we've connected over the fact that I'm a crystal lover and I'm a magical person. And, you know, we share that commonality. I've had so many interesting conversations and they have truly elevated my life in such a magical way, you know, and I just can't wait to keep having more guests on. I have a super special person coming on the podcast later this week that I'm going to be interviewing. I can't wait to share that. Literally someone that's known me since way back in the day, back during my fairy wing phase. And her and I haven't talked in many years, like person to person. We haven't talked even over the phone, just online chatting and this and that. So it's going to be so special having a conversation with her and just reconnecting, because her and I, we got to know each other at a very pivotal point in both of our lives. So now seeing how our lives have changed so much over the years and how much transition that we've both had, but how it all comes full circle back to where now we're in communication again on a spiritual level. And I think that's so beautiful. Number 4, this podcast is a creative outlet I honestly didn't even know I needed. I have been so busy all these years, almost priding myself on being busy with work and the kids and all of the things, that I never took time to have a creative outlet for myself. Always just, you know, in the hamster wheel, going a million miles a minute. The gears are smoking. Everything is coming unhinged. Like that's how my life felt. And coming into not only having the podcast and having the creativity around coming up with episodes, but also learning how to podcast and learning how to edit and then learning how to do video and learning how to even get on Canva, that app or website, and make posts, learning how to kind of elevate my social media. All of it has been very exciting for me creatively. Now, while I'm not so great at my social media stuff and I don't have a huge following because I really just am trying to figure it all out as I go, it still is fun and I love it, especially when I have time to work on it. It gets me so excited. I'm trying to figure out how I can incorporate that more into my weekly schedule so that I can get better at social media, making reels, all of those kinds of things. Because the more people that see me on social media are higher chances of them listening to the podcast. So it all comes around together. That's been so fun. And it's really been intuitively led. I don't have tons of episodes plotted out way in advance because I don't really know what I'm going to feel like talking about at the time. So maybe I'll think about things a week or two in advance. And of course I have my interviews scheduled, but those don't always come out right after I record them. So it's all just been very intuitively led. And that feels really good too, to just let my mind and my spirituality guide me where I'm going. Number 5, probably more important than anything, this has created such a strong spiritual connection for me. I can tell you, I grew up Catholic. I grew up going to church. I grew up never feeling like I fit in with any of it, never feeling like I connected with any of it. I don't know if it was the formality of going to church. I don't know if it was just, it felt boring to me. I felt like I could never understand the stories. I felt like it was just, I would sit there and the priest would talk and it was just like, I could never connect to anything that they were saying. And I don't know. I just never had that spiritual connection. And I would go to church, and I still do go to church with my husband because he's still Catholic. And, he feels that it's important for our family to go to church and spend that time together on Sundays. And that's fine. But even still, I walk in and I see so many devout people there. And I think to myself, well, they must be feeling the connection to this the way that I do to my spiritual connection. They must be. But for me, it just doesn't work. And I think, we have this one life here on earth that we're experiencing right now. And having a spiritual connection has been so amazing, especially since honestly, I never really had one. I've never really had a spiritual connection until the last few years, which seems crazy to say. I just got up and would go through the motions of life. But once I really started working with this podcast and working with the crystals and working with magic, it opened my mind to so many possibilities that the earth holds. And I know that this can sound so woo-woo and out there to people that don't really understand, but I've really come to understand that the magic is within us. And it's all about just tapping into the world around us and creating magic in the mundane and noticing the beautiful things in the world outside and just being present with our families and present with our children and present with our work, our day-to-day work. I've become so much more present in my day-to-day work as well. And I know that my patients, when I see them in the office, they feel that. And that means a lot to me. I can tell you, people literally tell me in the office at work all the time that they love my energy and they want to give me a hug and all of these things, which honestly, in all my years working in medicine, I've never really experienced that until the last few years. And I don't think I've changed that much, but there's just this energy that I have about myself now that has shifted so much, and I show up for it on purpose. I think about the energy that I want to carry with me every single day when I get up. I think about that. I go downstairs and I talk about this and I repeat this stuff all the time, and I'm going to keep repeating it until the end of time because it truly does work. When I get up in the morning, I set my intention. I make my coffee. I stir in my intention, get whatever crystal I want for the day from my pocket. I pull my card, my tarot, my oracle, and I set that energy for the day and I carry it with me, and it makes the biggest difference in the world. And I didn't even know that was possible. Honestly, I did not even know that was possible until over a year ago. And it's completely changed my life. Completely. So those are the big 5 from this year. I'm going to share now the top 5 episodes of 2024. Going into 2025, obviously the podcast was a little bit, it's kind of the same now, but it's evolved a little. Well, it's evolving a little bit as this next year goes on, with my interviews and the topics that I'm exploring. They're not all just crystal related, but it all still falls under that similar umbrella. So all of these episodes are very crystal centric, and I love that. So the first episode that I ever released was called Why Crystals, and it was a short episode. It was all about how I started my crystal journey and why I decided to podcast, which I've kind of shared some of that on this episode as well. But that got by far the most downloads. The second most popular episode was The Science of Crystal Energy, which I talk all about how crystal healing works and how it all blends with the science and the spirituality all blends together. And I think that I kind of want to keep coming back to that year after year and just doing kind of recaps of that, because I think it is very important for people to realize that, yes, this is spiritual, but there is also a lot of science behind why it actually works. The third most popular episode was the Crystal Starter Kit, which is amazing since I recorded that in a closet. But that was all about helping beginners start their crystal journey. And I just offered like 5 relatively common crystals that are easy to get at a crystal shop and that are easy to start working with. The fourth most popular was New Year's goals, and just about manifesting magic and setting goals and, using crystals to set goals and things like that. And then the fifth most popular was all about crystal cleansing, which is truly one of my favorite episodes too, because there's so many different ways that you can cleanse your crystals. And honestly, if I'll be real upfront about it, I'm not that good about cleansing my crystals. And I don't really know why, because, one of the most common things that we think about is, oh, you can put your crystals out under the full moon. Well, that's not going to work for someone that's got a lot of crystals. I got too many. I cannot be hauling all this stuff outside. So options such as smoke cleansing with, like a little bundle of herbs, like I have this beautiful little bundle of lavender, or sound cleansing with a bell is very simple. Or maybe you have a room where you have a lot of your crystals and you just have a particular song or music that you want to play, or maybe you sing and you sing to them. I mean, I don't know, whatever it is. There's so many different options of how you can cleanse your crystals. So I would highly recommend checking that out, because that episode is pretty thorough and it goes through lots and lots and lots of different options. I can see a theme of what episodes are the most popular. It's really the ones that combine the science and the spirituality. And that's a big thing that I want to keep doing on this podcast. I want to be nerdy and nerd out about the sciencey stuff, but I also want to nerd out about the spiritual stuff, because ultimately, and I say this also all the time, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. If it works for you, it works for you. Whether it's a scientific reason why it works for you or it's a spiritual reason why it works for you, if it works for you and you feel calm, if you feel good, you feel confident in who you are and what you're doing in the world, then it works. And that's really all that matters. My top 5 personal favorite episodes that I did, the intro episode, that's what started it all. I just laid it all out there as to why I was doing it. I do love the science of crystal energy. That's another top episode for me. All that nerdy stuff. I'm just a big nerd at heart. Salem episode, where I kind of recap my trip to Salem. I loved that. I just loved being able to revisit that whole trip. And the New Year's goals is always great, because I'm a big nerd about New Year's. I love setting goals. I love setting my word of the year. I love setting my intention of the year. I love picking out my crystal of the year, all the things. And my 5th favorite episode was all about creating a sacred space. And I think that's just near and dear to me, because this is my sacred space. And I come into this space and I just feel so good. Every day I get up in the morning and I come in here and I just try to be in here just for a couple minutes, because it just feels like a magical little room for me. And the kids, they know it's mommy's magical room and they want to hang out in here too. So I don't blame them. But yeah, creating a sacred space is such an important thing, even if it's just having a little tiny altar in the corner of your kitchen, which I have, which is one of my most popular altar spaces in my house. But yeah, those are my top 5 personal favorites. I would love to hear what your top episodes are. If you can, leave a comment on one of my posts on Instagram, or if you can tag this podcast and put it on social media and let me know what your favorite episodes are, or if you can share with me episodes that you would love to hear about in the future, let me know. That would be amazing. But the podcast has shifted a little bit into kind of a more metaphysical and occult, I want to talk about those kinds of topics a little bit more too, just because I feel like it's more expansive. I feel like it's more me, of who I am as a person. And I just felt like I wanted to get into magic. I wanted to do more with like self-transformation and going beyond what is known or what we can see, kind of into the unseen realms. And I felt like getting people on to do interviews covering all kinds of different topics would be amazing. Because there are so many interesting people out there. It is easy to find interesting people, especially you just get on Instagram. You can find anybody out there. You can find anybody that's talking about any kind of topic on there. And to be honest, I will follow someone for a while before I will ask them to come on the podcast. I will really check them out and make sure it's interesting to me. And I think it would be something that you would be interested in. I vet my people well. I'll just say that. So what's next? More deep dives into more esoteric topics and of course, more crystal magic. And it's just going to be kind of woven into this bigger picture of like self-discovery and personal power and confidence and all of the things. Because ultimately at the end of the day, yes, this is a crystal podcast. Yes, this is a metaphysical podcast, but more than anything, it's just about improving our lives and making our lives feel more fulfilled. So for this special 1-year anniversary episode, I am doing a giveaway, which I am so excited about. I am doing this giveaway kind of to kickstart this, what I'm going to be calling a crystal clarity call. It's an offering that I'm going to start bringing to listeners, but I want to start it off by giving away 3 free crystal clarity calls to people that have been listening and have been following along on this journey. So here's what it is. Here's how it works. So it's a personalized session where you share 3 things, either 3 things that you want to manifest or 3 different areas in your life that you're wanting to work on. And we'll have you fill out a little intake form and you can let me know. And then based on your goals or your manifestations, I will pick out 3 different crystals that I feel intuitively called to for you. And I will also do a tarot or oracle card pull, whatever one you prefer. And I have lots of different decks you could choose from. And then we'll have a call. If you want to, we can do it over Zoom. Or if you're nervous to show your face on camera, you don't have to even put your face on the camera. We can just do a call like where we're talking. Or one of the other options is if that even feels a little bit too much, you can submit your questions to me and then I can just give you a PDF with all the printout of everything that I feel from you. And I think it's going to be super fun. It's going to be just kind of like this mini like spiritual reading coaching session for you. And I'm always open to any follow-up questions that you might have. But the way that you can enter is follow me on Instagram, either at mystical.mama.ash or at Big Crystal Energy Podcast. And you can like the giveaway post and then you can comment your favorite podcast episode. And then a bonus entry would be to share that post or share my podcast in your stories and tag me so I know. And then I'll keep track of all of that. And then on, Friday, March 28th, I'll pick 3 winners and then I'll message you and let you know that you won. And then we can set up our call. And I think it'll be so fun. And this is going to be a new offering that I just recorded an ad for the podcast. So that's something new that's going to be coming for me. And if you have any questions about it, or you think maybe you want to schedule a crystal clarity call for yourself in the future, just let me know. You can send me a DM. I'll get back to you. I'll kind of lay it all out for you. And it's going to be absolutely beautiful offering. I'm super excited to get started. And yeah, anyway, thank you so much for just joining me on this crazy journal. I mean, not journey. Not journal. You guys, I have been at home with my kids all weekend. My husband is on call. It's just been me and the boys. They've been doing pretty good, but mommy's brain is fried. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me on this journey. It has been quite fun and quite exciting. And I appreciate everybody that's been rating and reviewing. I appreciate all my friends that are supporting me. I have my one friend, Kristen. Kristen, if you're listening, thank you so much. Always promoting my podcast to people. She was recently on a trip to Antarctica and she was in like Argentina or something. And she met someone that was a crystal girly and she had us exchange our contact information and stuff. I was like, that is so sweet. Just people getting behind this means so much to me. It really does. It lights me up when people get behind this because I know it's different. I know it's out there, but there is really something to it. I can tell you that from the bottom of my heart. Also, check out my YouTube. It's just Big Crystal Energy on YouTube. I'm starting to upload all my videos on there. So if you're hearing the podcast and you hear me mention something about, certain crystals and I'm showing them on the podcast, then you can go on the YouTube and you can see them. I also pull a lot of tarot cards, oracle cards. If you want to see the cards or the amazing decks that I use, you can tune into that as well. But your support helps this podcast grow so much. And if you have not ever rated or reviewed me, I would appreciate it so much if you could, because the more that people rate and review your podcast, the more it pushes the podcast out, so that when people are searching for different things like crystal healing podcasts, mine will pop up much faster than some of the other ones that are out there, just because it has more ratings and reviews. So I appreciate you all so much. I want to I did ahead of time because I know I'm limited on time here, but right before we started recording, I shuffled my deck, my tarot deck. And this is like one of my favorite tarot decks, the Modern Witch Tarot deck by Lisa Sterrell. Love this deck so much. I love the art. It's just so good. So I pulled a card because I was like, okay, what is the energy going into the next year of this podcast? And I will tell you, it always gets it right. The message always comes through exactly right. So I pulled the Knight of Cups, and the Knight of Cups, it shows this woman and she is on this beautiful horse and she is carrying a cup, and they're just kind of going forward and they're walking through, I don't know, some sort of field. There's a little river there and they don't look rushed. They don't look hurried. They just look relaxed, like they're moving forward, and she's kind of focusing on that cup. This is truly the perfect card for the next year of this podcast. It's all about being in touch with your intuition and emotions. It's about thriving on beautiful things and being inspired by your creative outlets. And it's really great. And it's also like about motivation and taking action, but not rushing through things, right? So the horse is not galloping. The horse is not flying through the field. It's slowly going through the field. It's taking everything in. It's absorbing the emotions. It's absorbing the energy. It's noticing how beautiful nature is around them. And I think that's what it's all about, right? I have dreamed about having this podcast and now I'm making it a reality. And, it's all about dreaming about what you want to create and then making it happen. And I think that can be so beautiful for me, for this podcast, for you going into the next year. This card is our guide as we step into another year of magic, discovery, and transformation together. So thank you so much for being here. I love you. I appreciate you. Please reach out. I do answer all of my DMs. I really do. It's me. It's only me. I do have a podcast editor that's helping with, just editing this and making my YouTube videos and some of my posts online. But for the most part, it's just me doing the messages, and I would love to hear from you. It makes me so excited when I see people contacting me from all different parts of the world. That is so wild. I never expected to reach the entire world when I started this podcast. And yet here I am in touch with people on almost every single continent of our planet, except I think I don't have any listeners from Antarctica yet. It's going to happen maybe this year. So cheers to another year of Big Crystal Energy. Stay magical, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye. Thank you so much for jumping down the rabbit hole with me. If you connected with this episode in any way, I would love it if you could share it with a friend. Also, please tag me on social media. I'm at mystical.mama.ash or at Big Crystal Energy Podcast, mostly on Instagram. It helps so much getting my episodes out there and finding more magical, kooky, and spooky friends. Sending you all Big Crystal Energy. Cheers!